Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folarin. Okay, let's look at an aspect of health. About 3 months ago, you recall that the coordinating minister for health and social welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, he had announced on his X handle that President Tinubu had actually signed an executive order that would now institute a regime of zero VAT on all pharmaceuticals and medical implements. It was cheering news because, as most people will know, the price of medicines at the pharmacies had just gone through the roof. In many cases had doubled, in some cases had quadrupled, and it was beginning to be quite worrying. So that was a timely intervention by the president. Now, Professor Mohammed Pate had said at the time that all of this was the realization by the president that things were very, very tight. Yet, people in the business, the pharmaceutical business, have said that in spite of that, the conditions just have not been so as favorable as people would have liked. No access or very little access to the right kind of loans and, such things. Well, we have an expert in the studio who is also definitely a stakeholder in the person of Dr. Tuyi Mebawodu, who is a public health physician. And this is an area of interest. In fact, all physicians will be interested in this, but I imagine that Dr. Tuyi Mebawodu is dealing with the rest of us who can, we need to save everything that we can save, and we can't afford medicines anymore. So good morning to you, Dr. Tuyi Mebawodu.
Uncle Yori, good morning. Such a wonderful day. It's been some time. Nice to hear your voice. Nice to see your face.
Same here. Same here, Dr. Mebawodu.
Interesting times.
Same here, Dr. Mebawodu. Now, I'm sure I am within safe bounds when I say that you must have been excited when you heard that President Tinubu had initiated this executive order. The effects of it. Maybe you can tell us, because you're out there, what has been the effect of it so far, even though we are hearing that, well, we're just about to begin to sort of reap the benefits of it.
Thank you so much. For every little good things or every little sharing news we get, especially from health, as far as I'm concerned, I want to celebrate. I can tell you the harrowing experiences individuals have been going through in the recent time in terms of having quality access to healthcare and even health products. We saw that common antibiotics costs have gone up astronomically. We saw that even simple inhaler became unaffordable because of the cost, and all these things now will have to be borne by the patient, who then find a way not to come to the hospital or just stay at home and die silently. I've seen situations whereby procedures are to be carried out because of the sheer cost. The patient would rather stay away and resort to prayer and miracle handkerchief and super
and miracle water.
So it's miracle water, miracle water. It's so heartwarming for me. I am excited. I know that there are a lot of costs to production of medicine or even Medicare. There are a lot of costs. It's not just about excise or tariff or or VAT as it is. Yes, again, for whatever it is, I never thought that health products will be VATable. I mean, from day zero, I was not expecting any VAT on health products. So good enough. Let's us make this a permanent executive order in such a way that anything called health must not be VATable. Now, the other input into the production of medication, okay, apart from importation, the major challenge about importation is the cost of dollars.
Yes.
Because you are importing based on dollars.
Very
now,
key.
if the VAT is off it, if the VAT is off it, then I mean maybe, and the custom duty and excess are off it, then we are having some reasonable consideration that you just have to search for your dollar, bring your drug in and sell based on prevailing dollar rates. And we see that happening to fuel importation or fuel sales as it is now. So still, yes, we are glad that the VAT is off, the excise duty is off, and then there's harmonization going on at the level of the custom and NAFDAC and everybody to say, okay, look away from this and ensure that the drugs come in. But the key things for me would have been the importation of active pharmaceutical ingredients, which are very essential in producing those drugs locally. Because the thing that will change the narration as far as drugs is concerned is local production, quality local production. Of course, I commend NAFDAC, who is able to do a lot of supervisory role and try to look around drug production in Nigeria. But again, the greater input to the drug production in Nigeria has to do with the energy, has to do with the cost of even land and other inputs into the production. So we're happy that this is happening. We hope that it will further go on to affect production of drugs. But what we need to do is this. For me, I wouldn't support a whole-scale removal of those VATs and everything on emphasis on every pharmaceutical product. But what we should do is lay much emphasis on those drugs that are that fall into the essential drug list. Because as it is, the essential drug list becomes key. Apart from the essential drug list, there are some drugs that actually were used in treatment of cancers and all those things, which of course is becoming a huge problem to the nation now. So essential drug list, we have to look at it. Anti-malaria is getting too expensive. You cannot buy any serious anti-malaria less than 3,000 naira as it is now. That is way off the roof. This used to cost about 500, 600 before last year. It's now 3,000 and it's still going up. And then you cannot even be too sure of the quality of what you are getting. So we want the pharmaceutical importers, the pharmaceutical manufacturer to also assist in this regard by ensuring that we have the quality products we're looking for, by ensuring that they lower the cost. Since the government is also lowering the cost for them, we want the pharmacovigilance at the level of the NAFDAC to be raised up in such a way that the NAFDAC, we ensure the prices are not shot to the roof. Because now you get to some places and you are finding out that the drug that should normally, if all these inputs cost about 2,000, some people are just putting 10,000. Unnecessary profiteering, that is going on. We have to actually, look at that. The consumer people, the consumer protection people must also come in and look at how to ensure that we benefit maximally from this government initiative. It's now on our hands to ensure that this initiative gets the kind of right bang for the bucks and for the attention they're putting into it.
Now, of course, as you've indicated, every little bit that the ultimate consumer, the patient, can get is going to be highly appreciated. But I was noting in just looking over stories before coming on this particular broadcast that a former chairman of the Lagos State branch of the Pharceutical Society of Nigeria, Bolagade Iyola, he had emphasized that the exchange rate would still appear, as you have indicated, to be a major stumbling block. He says the EO, the executive order, is about custom duty on raw materials, not on finished pharmaceutical products. How significant is that as he made that difference?
Right, let us be clear. We cannot manufacture all the major drugs we need in Nigeria. Because you tell me, which company is manufacturing anti-cancer drugs, for instance? There are still some reagents you need for processes for diagnosis. Which company in Nigeria is manufacturing it? We can't run away from bringing in those materials, even finished products. So what we want the government to do is to look at those essential lists and extend the coverage of that exemption to those essential lists.
Okay.
That's when it can then make sense. So it's not just, I know active pharmaceutical ingredients is needed, they are needed for local manufacturing. Apart from that, machinery are needed for local manufacturing. I can tell you from experience, trying to put together a syringe manufacturing concerns.
Yes.
The equipment is heinous. I mean, the cost of those machineries is a lot, and they are in dollars. The cost of raw materials you are going to need Of course, polypropylene, if you have to go to a refinery in Nigeria to buy it, it's a lot of money. They will sell to you based on the dollar rate. So in reality, we have not sat down to look at this critical input into healthcare. Now, the drug input into healthcare is a significant input because if you make all the if you have the best of doctors that can even diagnose without touching anybody, okay, and you still need medications, you still need drugs, you still need procedure, you still need equipment to make this diagnosis, and then people still try to be, cavalier, in terms of profit.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, so this is the real worry. The consumers are being shortchanged at every corner in the nation. Even when you reduce, okay, you can even see what happened to the rice that was being distributed at a certain price. The price went up to what it was pre-that distribution. So you ask yourself the question, I mean, at what point do we start loving ourselves?
Exactly, because we're in a situation here where, unfortunately, and this is not just about the pharmaceutical sector alone, sellers are able to ask whatever they want. I mean, there's no compulsion. They just ask it. If you don't like it, go away. And they seem to pass the word around. And before you know where you are, just about everybody in that sector is asking for also import duty on it. Yeah, that sounds very, exciting. But there are realities to be involved, and perhaps people need to be cautiously, but only cautiously optimistic. But this isn't likely to affect anything significantly very, very soon. Is that too pessimistic a view?
It's realistic view. I mean, it's not about pessimism, it's realistic view. Because in the whole value chains, in the whole supply chain structures and stakeholder involvement, there are a lot of steps down the line. Of course, you bring drugs, you source dollars,
yes,
you send it abroad. You source dollars, you send it abroad. That's one limitation, one obstacle. It goes abroad, then it comes to that you have to ship, even if you are not going to pay duty or VAT on it. You get to the wharf, okay, you have to go through all the processes. Yes, that is that. You have to actually transport those things to your warehouse or whatever it is. That is a cost that will depend on the cost of fuel, the contract transportation cost. Then there are distribution costs, okay, warehousing costs, distribution costs, and of course, before it gets to the final consumer. Now, you can look at those stakeholders in this regard, and then people will now want to maximally, because what people do in Nigeria, as I've seen, is that every little thing you are doing, you want to raise up the costs, okay, to be able to cater for your personal need, so that this is the drug I'm selling. It is from it I'll send my children to school.
Yes.
From this I'll pay for my NEPA. It is from this. So all these added costs then come into the force. And then when it's enforced, you will just see a tiny move in the hand of the needle. If the supervising agencies and regulatory agencies will do their work, consumer protectors, the NAFDAC people, and even the pharmaceutical associations, if they would rather stand up and do their work. But what we're seeing is that, the commercialization of the pharmaceutical, there's no big deal about commercialization, but with commercialization with loss of professionalism, that's what we're seeing in the pharmaceutical industry. What you see is that you see people who are not supposed to be in the pharmaceutical industry, and there's no supervisory room for them. Nobody is supervising them. So to them, everything is profit. To them, everything is how you can maximize, how you can hoard and maximize your profit, as in the case of this pharmaceutical product. To them, it's how to create oligopoly or monopoly in the distribution of those drugs. So in reality, it will come down to the fact that can you manufacture in Nigeria? Can you escape the challenge of having to look for dollar and send abroad? Can you escape the cost of shipping? Can you then manufacture, create jobs, distribute locally to significantly reduce your cost? Do you have a special process of getting energy? And of course, even the greatest obstacle to industry now is how do you what's the cost of power? The cost of power is one of the greatest disincentive to manufacturing as in the pharmaceutical industry. This I know. And of course, that your equipment are very sensitive. you have to go through a thorough, maintenance of those things. Sometimes some does not require light. You do not require light to go. So these are big issues. So we have to look at all these things holistically. Yes, VAT off. Yes, custom duty off. But those are just the initial step. But let's be happy about even the little one.
Dr. Mebawadu, as a Yoruba person, you're familiar with the expression Elewe Omo in all Nigerian, Yoruba markets throughout the Southwest. These are the traditional medicine, component vendors. I know doctors are not too, enthusiastic commenting on that side of town, but they are a reality. And the point I wanted to make is that even their prices have gone up. What you do, anybody in the Southwest, and I'm sure in other areas of the country too, will just present himself before an Elewe Omo. I was just trying to see if there was a quick, translation of Elewe Omo. But you just tell very much what we do with you doctors. We tell you what our symptoms are, what our complaints are. You tell the woman the same thing. She's an experienced person. She brings some herbs from here. It is in South Africa that thing is the most developed. But unfortunately, prices are going up there too. Prices are going up all over the place. How concerning is this? Medicine, allopathic medicine, your branch of the science, of the craft, it can't take care of everything. It can't take care of everything. So whether we like it or not, it's going to spill over to that side of town. Just since we're on this whole subject of pharmaceuticals, that is also pharmaceuticals in its own sort of way. How concerned are you for that side of town too? Because not everybody can afford the kind of prices that we're talking about now.
Again, I saw the attempt of, let me tell you the one I know, of Lagos State.
Yes.
Trying to regulate.
Yes.
Trying to
they have a traditional medicine council.
The traditional medicine council, by creating a board to look at it. And at a point in time, my very good brother, he's a medical doctor, was the head of that board. And I'm sure he was actually trying to do a lot, but I don't know. We're not having communication in terms of exposure of what he's doing. You are right. For whatever it is, some people will not use allopathic medicine. They're just allergic to your drug, and you cannot. It's their choice. It's their choice. But what would be meaningful is to see that even at that level of allopathic medicine, there are some for traditional medicine and Elewe Omo, there's some standardization, there's some rules that guide those things. Because if there are no rules, charlatans will enter, and then they will cause more harm to the seeker of that sort of care. We are having a lot of problems in trying to standardize, trying to regulate, in trying to see for them to know their limits and not go further down. Well, as it is, we leave that to the traditional board, traditional medicine board, to figure out how to regulate, how to monitor,
Indeed.
How to ensure compliance to some regulations. So I think, as it is, we still have that sort of structure to deal with excesses in that area. And of course, normally when people are seeking for health, if you have really fallen sick before, you understand the fact that when you are seeking for help, you want help at all costs. And that is why the people that are most prone to manipulations are people that are sick. The family that are most prone to manipulation are the family of sick people.
Yes.
So, and we must be able to have that kind of protection for them.
Okay.
Whatever it is, the health system, the co-health, for instance, as an instance, there are state health insurance schemes like co-health that you can key into and start your health care from that. And of course, the future of health now is for us to look at that preventive and screening system I mean, that is the future of health. We must be able to look at the life cycle of somebody and say that these are the likely sickness that the person may experience. Now, if we can raise our traditional board or traditional medicine to the level of, say, Ayurvedic medicine in India,
Yes.
then we can compete.
Okay.
We can compete essentially.
Okay.
You look at India, look at China, they have their own traditional medicine running with the allopathic medicine.
Indeed.
So for us, what then should we do to raise our own traditional medicine to that standard?
Exactly.
If we have not raised it to that standard, it becomes a problem. It becomes a subject of criticism.
I fully understand
I am throwing it, at the feet of the traditional medicine board in Lagos, for instance, to run around and make sure this thing happens.
Okay.
Then one of the most curious parts of the medical care that I'm looking at, non-allopathic medical care that I'm looking at, that is concerning, is the so-called spiritual healing. Okay, when somebody now
that's an entirely different,
surprising water, and and then because at the end of the day, they do this prayer to somebody with a lump in the breast, and the person who has stage 1 now ended up with stage 4 B cancer.
One moment, Dr. Mebamadu. One moment, please. I've been holding on to Kesandu's call. So sorry about that. Good morning, Kesandu in Owerri. Kesandu in Owerri. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for holding on. Are you still there? Kesandu in Owerri.
Yes, Uncle Yori, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Yes. Uncle Yori, this is a laudable one. It's a step in the right direction what the federal government is doing or has done. But as Nigerians, we have just one problem. Full feasible implementation of this thing. You see, the reason some of us Nigerians were going to be sure that Mr. President or the federal government has actually done the needful, if we see this thing, that will be clearly reflected in the prices of our pharmaceutical products. So we are encouraging the government. It is one step to make this proclamation. This implementation should be done to the last. So we are hopeful, we are willing, and we are calling the appropriate authorities to ensure that this implementation is done. It is not enough saying it that it will be implemented. We want to see it and we want to reflect when we go to the market. God bless Nigeria.
Thank you very much. But the point has been made that often we have to bring in the raw materials, and that is what the VAT will affect. Okay, so we're happy there. But it has been observed by those who know about these things that the process, the finished, I think they have complained that the matter no reach there. So we'll see how all of that goes. Dr. Mebaudu was sort of discussing, on efforts and perhaps challenges in other forms of medicine, as other places, and he was alluding to, the Chinese medicine who have managed to integrate and become partners with allopathic medicine. Even South Africa has gone quite far. They have a different approach. They and their muti, they have a totally different aspect to it. But we're talking here about pharmaceuticals, which is by far the widest. There's the demand for pharmaceuticals. Western big pharma has often been a main culprit. There are those who are charging that it is not in the interest of big pharma to see the price of drugs come down, and so it is made artificially high. Even doctors themselves, your very good self, you're as an allopathic doctor, you Western trained, for people who are wondering about the term allopathic. They're wondering that doctors are hand in glove with big pharma by going around and using the influence that is undeniable, recommending certain kind of drugs because they are hand in glove with big pharma. Again, this is not. It won't be. I won't be the person that would have brought this to your notice for the first time. What will you be saying about that alleged practice of medical doctors?
Yeah, let's tell you what. We cannot pretend that people don't influence, people don't lobby. As there are lobbies in political space, as there are lobbies in legal issues, there are also, in quotes, lobbies in use of medication. the first thing you need to do is to assure that through your study, through your clinical trials, your drug actually does what you say it does. So that's the first thing. Is it effective? Is it efficient? You know, is the drug working? That's the first question. If the drug is working, the human behavior is such that it takes time for me to change my ingrained prescription culture. It takes time. Okay? If I'm used to saying that, okay, for instance, chloroquine is a treatment for malaria, it takes time. We don't just shift from chloroquine to ACT. It takes time. And then this transition time means that the pharmaceutical company has to do a lot of interaction with the doctors. And this interaction comes in the form of clinical presentations, offering of free samples, looking at symposia, different symposia,
yes, to
educate the doctors, to tell them what and what is happening. Yes. And then doing more research to validate the medication. Mm-hmm. So now, if you ascribe this to lobby, if you ascribe this to being hand in glove, of course, can doctors run away from pharmaceutical industries if they want to have results? They cannot. So now, if you have a new product and they push the product and you see this works, because at the end of the day, you are looking for the health of your patient. Indeed. You want your patient to get well. Indeed. So you cannot. There's nothing wrong in doctors relating to them and trying to see that this is your new product. Is it working? And we have also seen many cases when doctors relate with them and find that the products are not working, and the product has to be pulled down or even taken away.
No doctor is going to be recommending products that don't work.
Exactly.
Let me bring in Elder David. Elder David has been holding on for a while. Good morning, Elder.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Okay. Go ahead now, please.
Good morning, sir, Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling and for holding on. Go ahead now.
Thank you very much. What is happening? What is the problem? There's confusion everywhere. When the president makes a law, people are there to implement it. They are not doing that. No petrol issue. Look at the drug issue.
Well, there are processes.
When a tablet that was bought for 10 naira about some months ago, somebody is increasing to 500. Is it the president that is doing that? What of those supposed to implement what the president have done? President have already removed tax and every other thing. It's supposed to go down. Well, it's not the issue of the president. President have done his best.
Elder, if you've been with us for a while,
in other places,
Elder,
like what is happening in Borno State and others.
There is a foreign
Elder. What of the ministers?
Elder,
there's a foreign exchange
component to this equation.
Those who are increasing petrol, they are doing that in order to undermine this government.
Okay.
But the issue is this: by the grace of God, God will intervene, and those who are doing it, they themselves, they will equally face his face. They cannot undermine this government. The president is doing his best.
All right, Elder.
And by grace of God, is going
Elder, thank you very much. Elder, I hear you, Elder. But I just wanted to add that we've been talking about there's also a foreign exchange component to this equation. Even if the president has done what makes a lot of people happy, number one, the percentage that it affects out of the cost of the drug is one thing. And then there's no controlling the exchange rate immediately. So it's possible for this to be applied and for it to stay the same simply because of movements of foreign exchange. There's also that part of the equation that has to be fitted in. And that's what we're discussing now, Elder. But I take what you are saying, and Dr. Mebamodu has also spoken to, if he wants small, sharp practices and some of these reluctance of our people to do the right thing in terms of pricing ethically. Yeah, all of that, you're very right, Elder. But there are other parts to this equation, and as you know, scientists especially, and even government, they want equations to balance. And if we're not careful, these equations won't be balancing. I don't know if we should just, Dr. Mebaudu, let's take a quick break, and I'll be right back. There are some questions that, now that we have you, I'll also like to be asking you. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back.